Hello, do you hear me? Quick mic check. Do you hear me? Hello, hello. Yes, great. Okay. You may have noticed a change in the background today. Obviously not in my office. I'm actually in Rezekne. So yeah, having a project there where we're working. I posted a link, present sheet, a link. So please click on it, say you're here, and that you're happy. And I don't know what other fields are there, but it's important to register so you can get the class validated. The first slide is already there. So welcome back. Let's start with a small energizer and tell us what was your first job. Your first job ever. So planting flowers, growing sprouts, washing dishes, advertising promo, video editing, household, organizing document, babysitting brother, event organizer, driving tractor, masonry labor, ticket seller, event organizer, hairdresser, it's interesting how every single one of you had different experiences. Your first work experience are completely different. And you were literally going from driving a tractor to event organizer. And that's within 20 participants here. And if I'm telling this to you, it's because I want to stress the fact that we all see the world from our own set of lenses. We all wear a set of glasses that shapes the way we observe, we reflect, we think about what is around us. And while at times it can be a handicap, when we get this vision in common, we get a much more broader picture, a much more honest picture of what is happening, because our background allow us to understand things differently, and sometimes certain things better than others, whether it's in a cultural context, whether it's in a professional context. Making toy, hairdresser, babysitting brother, cook. Yeah, I'm sure if you have a project or a business related to restaurant, the person who worked as a cook or as a dishwasher in a restaurant has much more interesting insight, is able to pick up on what they observe there much better. We have two cooks. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I think job-wise, I did a lot of things. I worked in hotels, I worked at McDonald's, I've been selling Apple computers, I've been giving trainings on Apple softwares, worked in swimming pools. And I think these experience we had there, very often we try to say, okay, well, we dismiss them because they're, yeah, something I did when I was young. But these experience still to date, in my professional life and environment, there's a lot I can gain from it, and quite many things I'm still using from what I learned there. So yeah, keep in mind this is interesting, and this is a strength. So ritual every time we start a class, I'd like to ask you one reflection you had about the project or the class since last time we met. So I'd like you to share it with others. This also allows me to understand if something maybe is not clear, if you have maybe a specific expectation, and to adapt later the course as well. Or maybe it's just something you want to tell others that you learn. Communication with new people, fun teamwork. Again, as last time, if you have nothing to say, just write you have nothing to say. So I'm not, I know not to expect an answer from you. New friends, great teamwork. Dividing role is hard. It's team and teammates. Still something is unclear. As teammate, meeting new people, having good teammates is key. Yeah, and I think I can rebound of people who's on the comment, having good teammate is key. I've been working a lot with incubators, with investors, and actually one of the core investment criteria they have when they want to invest in a company is they look at the team. The very first question is, do I believe in the team? Do I believe in these people? Do I see them working well together? Yes or no? If it's a no, they don't even look at the number. If it's a yes, then they start looking further. So it's not the only thing, but it's a yes or no criteria. Would love if my teammate participated doing homework. Fortunately, I wasn't in the class, but managed to listen to the recording. Yep. Would love if my teammate participated doing homework. I think the first moment you're going to be divided back in your teams in breakout rooms today, have a chat about that, about accountability, and what happens if someone does not participate or does the homework. You can also come directly to me as well, privately in Zoom chat, and we can try to address this. So on the Zoom chat, you can chat. You have a button everyone or design elevator. You should find it somewhere. And that means you can reach me directly. Dividing roles is hard. Yeah, dividing roles is hard. And very often, we all either want the same role or we tend to overstep. And I think keep in mind what attitude is expected from you, what attitude you work with in the team. Is overstepping okay? This is something you also need to define together. And roles in projects, what we see is roles may change over time. So feel free to change the roles during the course of the project as well. Is there anything else you learned, you observed, you want to share there? If you cannot log in on Miro to answer, you can also answer in the Zoom chat. Or is there anything you wish me to talk about in that regard? Yeah, one reflection I had since last time is, yeah, working online is definitely more complicated than working in person, especially on such type of project. I mean, during the pandemic over the past 2 years, we had many teams, we had many projects, and I've seen two teams where things were going as well online as it would have gone offline, or if not better in one case. But in both cases, these were teams that were working together for a long time, very open in sharing. So they already had this attitude and this habit of working together. Okay, still 5 people missing for the registration. So if you have not clicked on the link, enter your information there, please do it now. Okay, plan of the day. First lecture, we went on kind of introduction to design thinking, forming the team. Second lecture, we talked about the empathy part of design thinking. Today, we talk about the define aspect of design thinking. I will share there with you 2 examples on how we apply the different tools with clients, talk about the tools, what is essential in applying the tools, and what are some traps to avoid falling in, that I see people falling it a lot. Then we'll have a break, and after the break will be teamwork. Work on an issue map and prioritization. Then on that, following this, we'll work on a problem tree, reflect, have a team reflection of the core issue. Each team will share their core issue, and then I'll introduce you to a short homework. So homework should take each person at the team between 15 minutes and half an hour until next week. Remarks, comments, objections. As always, if you have any remark, comments, objection anytime, feel free to write in the chat or open your microphone if you see fit. I feel better than last time. My voice is a bit better. Still, pollen allergies make me sometimes talk a bit funny. So please, I hope you understand. Next thing I wanted to talk to you about is at the end of the project will be an evaluation. So every one of you will receive a grade. And the evaluation, actually, there is only one, and it's your team project. So it is what you have in the mirror board and how you're moving through it. Each person will receive a small questionnaire about their own work, what happened, a couple of other questions to elaborate on. And also, I will ask you to evaluate your teammates. And based on that, I will give you a final mark. And if I ask you to evaluate your teammate, it's so that if one person is doing absolutely nothing in the team, not participating, and just eventually opening Zoom and leaving, still they will not pass the course. So yeah, your engagement with your team is critical to pass this course. There's no question about it. Whether or not you're successful in addressing the challenge will not have an influence in your mark. Actually, the only time I gave a 10 in that class was to a student who completely failed to address the challenge, but really went through the process, learned a lot, and was able to express it. And this was, I think, a class for a master student, if I remember. So yeah, not having a solution doesn't mean you fail the class. It can be quite the opposite if you're able to express the learnings. Okay, any questions here? Yes, no, maybe. Doesn't look like. So we had, if you remember the first lecture, we went through the different phases of design thinking. And at some point, we talked about define. So what is define in design thinking? What does it mean? I'll give you some time to reflect on that. I'll let you answer in Miro. No, in Miro, in Menti. the ones who would not remember how to use Menti, you can use it with your phone. Or a web browser, as you prefer. Okay, we see answers related to solving a problem, solution, rectify problem, problem finding, realization. Yes, Veronica, you wanted to say something. Okay, process of thinking, process of solving, problem finding, set a challenge, creative thinking, create solution, defining a problem, innovation, twice. I think if you remember, we had the double diamond where we had the define was that second part that was narrowing down. And defining is really about narrowing down to specific aspects we want to address. But it's always, I think, in design thinking, it's always a little bit more blurry than just word. It's also a method where going a little bit outside or even outside of the framework, if it makes sense, it's something we do. And defining can take different shapes with different tools there. Compromising, yeah, compromising is definitely part of that process. Improving, yeah. Here, I think defining is still the kind of research, what we call the problem phase of the design thinking process, where we did our research, we observe things. And now defining as the act of categorizing the learning, organizing these, learning from it, putting words, identifying different elements. And it's a process that we do at different phases. So we're doing it at the beginning to define kind of a core challenge or a core problem to address. But then we also do it when we experiment and really defining maybe what we still need to work on or defining what works well. And we still use same series and set of tools for it. Now I have a couple of projects. Did I include? No. I have a couple of projects I can try to show you here. For this, I will first of all stop sharing because I'll use the camera. First project is the Ascent camera. So we have a client with whom we're developing a camera for smell. So imagine Polaroid for smell. And in that project, it was very important for us to define how people would use that. So we did, first of all, contextual research, interview, look online, offline, literature, even send kind of GoPro for video footage to people. Based on that, we had a first series of assumptions on, okay, well, this is how people will behave. This is how it looks like. So how do we define what they need? And how do we define what is correct and what works for them? In that case, we made prototypes. So simple 3D printed prototypes of a smell camera. So we just made them a very simple scenario, not thinking about any sort of aesthetics at all, but just having people trying to use it. And so we send it with a couple of people in the mountains. One went to Cairo, and they came back with feedback of, okay, this works, this doesn't work, this is annoying, this is not annoying, maybe we can transform things like that. They even modified the prototype on location as they saw fit them. You come back, you have a second version. You send, okay, well, more fits in the pocket, get your smell shot, and there you go. And then based on the learning, you say, okay, well, I think we're pretty sure. So we go for this, that you smell, you can record smell, you can render them. And every time we're doing a prototype with them, we're testing it. We're trying to define what works, what doesn't work. And to define also what the needs we anticipate are the right one. In that case, the best way to do it was with prototyping, because interview, observation, and so on is not working for such a product there. So we needed to go with the prototyping approach for that reason. We sent this, and this was dismissed. I mean, it's the prototype myself and the client like the most in terms of shape, in terms of story, visual. But we noticed that roughly 50% of people intuitively do not understand how to use it, or simply would not want to record with the same place they put their nose somehow, because the nose go inside. So then we move on. Okay, next prototype and next prototype and next prototype. And after I think, I don't know, 50, 70 iteration, this is currently where we're at. That's not even the last one. There are 3 more since that one. Yeah, here we have an object with something every single person we showed it to understood how it worked. When we tell them it's a smell camera, how would you use it? Well, this is a screen. It's not the one we sent, but those two. And also, we had different version of the top. Imagine one with holes everywhere that looks like a microphone. And in the research, we understand that if we have one that looks like a microphone at the top, just with simple holes, people think it records from everywhere, while the device only records from the top. So we made more and more version for that. So that define phase was really used to identify the problem and where are the unknown aspects of this product. I have another element that is rather interesting. I'll see if I can quickly grab the screenshot. Is it here? Yeah. I will share my screen. Okay. So this is another project we did. This was with the welfare ministry. And this was initial research for the project. And what you see here is what we call a slightly more complex problem tree. Problem tree is an exercise we'll do today. We'll come back to it. But in short, we start at the center with the research question. Yes, the device I showed was the smell camera. It's a 3D printed prototype, non-functioning, still 3 to 5 years to market. But we really understand the user and the scenario thanks to all these prototypes. So going back to this problem tree, you have a client that say, we need a clear definition of what the job of an assistant is. And then we look at why, the causes and the consequences of that. As kind of contextual research, empathy / define. So really being able to organize all the findings there in a map and understanding, is the definition the core thing to address, yes or no? And what are the consequences of this? And you see also at some point we have links that are going between different things, like lack of transparency here and support. And as a consequence, this is happening here. So it's a rather interesting exercise. This map here to come to that kind of simplicity, if I may say so, took us quite a bit of time. And this is just an initial research. So that was the second example here. And it's something we really use a lot in our project, this type of problem trees, either to categorize things, or we use it sometime in the shape of a flowchart as well. The third example I want to share with you is Cosmos in Centers, which is a STEM center in Celsius, which aim is to teach STEM to kids through the medium, through the context of space exploration, making rockets. And for the ones who know, the ones who are in Latvia, it's Xeno 2.0, if you wish. And what they approach us with is, hey, we need an exhibition stand. Okay, you need an exhibition stand. So the work we did with them is really try, first of all, understand what they're doing. So went to visit their premises, so recording of their workshop, so their workshop material. Following that, we really went with them and asked them to list where they would place their stand and try to find pictures of this location and what type of activity for which public they would have there. So really kind of define all these different type of scenarios. And based on these scenarios, then we're able to say, okay, well, the design brief then for the stand is it should be this, it should do this, and that. And in the end product is a roof with graphics on the side and tables where they can have a lot of different workshops, where they can work on the walls almost as if they were whiteboards, and really treating the project from a design standpoint, not as a stand, but rather as a tool for education, as a tool for leading workshop, for organizing events, for sharing STEM knowledge. So this is where through kind of the defined aspect of design thinking process, we're able to change the brief itself at the beginning when the client say, okay, well, we want to stand and transform this idea of a stand towards, okay, let's build a tool and let's forget a bit about the stand. So really built the tool, and the tool took the shape of a stand at the end. Also, you can look at the ceiling and you see, I don't know, someone sleeping or playing guitar. And so being able to share and bring that note of humor as well. That's something very important working with kids or even with adults. Having a note of humor here and there in project and exhibition can really go a long way. Do you have any questions, remark, comments, objections so far? Look at the chat. Doesn't look so. Now, what tools can we use to help define, identify, and define the problems? What tool do you know, or have you used, or you think we could use? Outside the box thinking, interview, questionnaire, cooperation, collecting feedback, ideation, creative thinking, diagrams, description of the problem, surveys. Any other idea? Yeah, I think that the tools, ultimately the tools we use in the defined part are very, very project specific. There are a few constant things we use in almost all projects, like customer journey or what I showed earlier with the problem tree. And yeah, there are sometimes also need for developing specific tools there. What we do is we use sometimes a context map, a user journey. User journey is a tool I will introduce next time. We had a case with a client where we worked on a user journey. Took 16 hours to do it. I'll come back to it at the end. SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, threats, is also an interesting tools you can use. We use kind of a matrix to sort your learnings. Interview, survey are used sometimes as well. Secondary research that you can validate, you can pinpoint elements, or you can sometimes you also use the secondary research to eliminate things. The 5 whys, why, going to the bottom of it. Prototyping, as I showed you with the sand camera prototypes, or role play. Role play is also a sort of prototyping, where you can make really quick iteration, try to validate some element. If you think something is a problem, or you can kind of play a situation and you remove elements. Disturbing element to really go to the core of it is something you can use there. User journey. User journey is a tool also used on almost any project. We start a user journey always at a stage of before we even encounter the product or the situation. How do we get to know? How do we go in contact with it? And we end user journey with the after. What happens once the interaction is over? What happens when I've finished using the product or I dispose of it in certain cases? In one case, with a microphone we developed for a client, we also had in the user journey all the part about repairing the microphone. And then we had a secondary user journey on the process of repairing the microphone, where the user was actually the support team or in the shop that was receiving a broken thing to repair. And that really led to define strong design elements for the product and putting constraints onto it. So a user journey is a tool I would really encourage you to use on a regular basis on your projects. And the user journey I was referring with was with a big company, big Latvian company. They have office in 5 countries, and we did a user journey there and on an employee journey. So from before they ever hear about the company, to how they hear about the company, to how they are harvested or how they leave the company, whether through retirement or whether they find a new job, and what is happening then, how maybe you maintain contact with them, how you use them in your recruitment process. And there we did that user journey with 2 types of user. One was a warehouse worker, and one was more kind of project manager, so to say, office type worker. And it took 8 hours to do one worker. The user journey we had, we printed it large, and it was 6 meters long. So I'll let you imagine a 6 meter long user journey with 8 people working on it for an entire day and actually learning a lot from it. And from there, they were already able to develop prototypes they could test in a human resource department directly. So, you know, the limit on how you use the tool, when I told you design thinking is a non-linear process, I think we really see it almost all the time when you work on a user journey, and in that process, you know, they're already a trigger to small prototype you can test. Whether or not it's at the core of the project, you can take it out of the project do it and still focus there. And some of these prototypes actually are now implemented internationally in that company. Yeah, I think one thing, one aspect I'm really keen on, and I think I will never insist enough, is about attitude in design thinking, how to work with people, how to engage with people. And now my question to you is what key, what essential attitude shall we observe in the phase of defining the core issue, of narrowing it down to what we shall address? You can answer on that. Creativity. Yeah, I'm not sure why not, but I'm not sure creativity is the most important thing in the define phase, as we're trying to narrow things down to the core here. Open-mindedness, communication, smart, being attentive, being talkative. Yeah, if you're introvert, it's a good moment to be talkative. Focused observation. Yeah, I think that the key there is be focused, but also not being proud. Yeah, an example of not being proud and learning to let go is this. I think and this is a design we both loved for the smart camera in terms of shape and usage scenario and how it feels in the hand. A lot of things are right with this. Myself, our team, the client, that's all our preferred version. But user-wise, is something different, and I think it's learning to let go. And this is where sometimes we need to leave kind of emotion aside, because we all mean, as I was saying, we all see the world from our own lenses. We all have, maybe personal attachment, emotional attachment to something. And this is clearly a moment where we need to kind of let this go. And yeah, there it's really about having doing synthesis, having an analytic spirit of saying, okay, yes, no, important, not important, relevant, not relevant, and learning to let go of this emotion. It's a bit of a very cold an emotional process at times, a defined phase in a project. And if you're going to the definition of what is the phase defining in a design thinking process, it's really analysis and synthesis of observation and research to state your validated user needs or problems, creating a clear statement of intention of what problem you intend to solve. And I think there is also something you should be careful about, is the difference between challenge and problem. A challenge is broad. A problem is something we already narrow down. Of something to address or to be addressed. And the key there in define is really having these validated elements. And it's validated because, maybe people told you it's really an issue for them, and you can recoup it with different elements, different observation you made. If not, then you create a specific way to gather that information through research in this define part. It's getting things together. And I mean, our brain is really good at making this link. So there's a part there of listen to your guts, validate them. But at the end of the day, it's really something that is validated because you have quality research on which you can base this and say, hey, yes, it is really like this, because he told me like that. We had 50 people who could not understand that. That person used the product completely wrong in that prototype, while everyone found that this one had no issue using that one. And we're really happy to transport it. Everyone left this one at home and were very frustrated because their smells they wanted to collect. This one, everyone had them either in their bag or pocket. And it's really being able to say, yeah, well, these validate things. This is defined. We understand it. So either you create your problem statement, or you really set some elements you can observe there. Any questions? Yeah. No. I think when we're talking about the traps to avoid, and these are.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
The way we are describing and observing something, it's like we are gathering requirement, and it's a elicitation process as well, and it's the part of requirements management as well. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Sorry. Well, I mean, there's a part where you conduct observation, which you really look into the context, into what is happening. And then in the defined part, it's about validating this. It's about recouping things together. Hey, we have all these different observations pointing in the same direction, all telling the same thing. And this is what define is about. It's about narrowing things down to the core things. Or first, maybe you sort, you explode a bit your problem, your challenge in different aspects. Well, I mean, to address a challenge, we need to address this and this and that and that and that and that. And then based on that matrix, then you prioritize, okay, which element shall we address first? Based on different data, do we want something that is highly strategic, important, but would take a lot of effort? Or do we want something that has a lot of visibility and take a little effort, even though it's not strategic? So it's about making choices as well.
So it's all related to the problematic strategy or problematic data.
It's I
By
mean,
which
define is about telling, okay, what is that core thing we will work on? Where do we start generating solutions? What is the first element we need to address in the challenge? Because very often we work with challenges that are highly complex. An example is we work with a client on implementing advanced analytics throughout their business, and it's a highly complex problematic with a lot of different moving parts and different people who would benefit from it. But the question is, where do you start to implement it? How do you start to train people for it? What are these first steps to take there within the client context? And I think we had a list, I think, of 10 to 20 different elements to work on. And from this, really through the context research, through engaging with people, we're really able to narrow it down to, okay, what process is needed in order for everyone to engage and to use advanced analytic methods. And so we're able to develop kind of a prototype process. Then again, we talk with a lot of managers, with different people to validate this. And once this is validated, still in that process, there are different things to be set in place before we're able to act on it. So again, we prioritize and we work. So we've been able to define the different elements that are needed. We've been able to define then a process. We've been able then to define what are the first elements to work on. And then these elements, so we are starting to ideate to develop a solution to address them. Is it clear?
yeah, thank you.
I think there are also quite a few traps when we try to define a problem, to define a challenge. And I think the biggest trap that I see is setting it in stone. And sometimes you have companies that tell me, yeah, we had that design thinking workshop we did together, and this is the conclusion, and this is what we address. And you start to address that, and you realize we should move a bit away from that. I mean, it's interesting, but before we're able to address that, there is something else we should be addressed. And then they say, oh, no, we cannot, because this is what we should be doing. And you're unlikely to obtain a result if your core challenge, if what you define is set in stone. And I think I can count, over 10 years of practice, I can count on the finger of one hand the times where the core problem or the core challenge did not change throughout the process. So this is really important that, okay, well, we all agree this is what we work on, but it doesn't mean we're not questioning it. It doesn't mean we may not change it as we evolve, as we discover and advance in the project. So really be open-minded there. Do not set it in stone. This might change. The second thing, and the second trap is problem that is based on assumptions. We assume people want that. We assume people think this. We assume this is what is happening. I mean, it's fine. This is what we're doing when we're having classes, when we're doing courses, because it's impossible to run a 20 interview. That would take the entire class and nothing else. But when you're really working on a project, real life with real implication, don't base things on assumption. Engage with people. In the send camera, we have a core group of 10 users we're engaging with on a regular basis. Plus, we have roughly 40 other people we consult. So we have 50 users there with whom we engage in a regular basis to validate our assumptions, to learn from them. So first we learn, and then we use them as a validation tool. And it's really important to have that feedback and not say, hey, we assume they think like that. We assume they will want that. And these, based on assumption problems or kind of what functions sometimes in software or so. We see that a lot in software engineering or in software. So yeah, we assume they want that, so we just add this function because it doesn't take so much time, and then our software have all these options. Then you lose yourself. So really don't base things on assumption, really base things on what you know, on what you were able to validate. Assumption are great, but assumption is something you use. So you build a prototype to validate. Do not base problem statement on assumptions. If you're looking back on the problem statement in the problem tree, which was problems we don't have definition of what the role is, what is the role of an assistant. They thought it was a very big problem. The point is when you talk, you engage with user, they don't think it's a problem at all. So they were at the very beginning, they were trying to address the wrong problem because it was just their assumption that this was a problem for the end user, while it wasn't at all. Because for them, this was a non-issue, as before this, many other things needed to be addressed. Then there the other trap is the superficial problem, which, like, putting a band-aid on a broken leg. Pointless if you're not targeting really the root cause, the core issue, what is at the center of it. So I mean, for us, let's say if this we hear people cannot use it and don't. I mean, so half of people did not understood how to use it or don't like their nose. The superficial problem would be saying, okay, they don't want to touch their nose here, so let's redesign it for them not to touch their nose. Or no, or it would be, we need to add a tube here so they can connect. For the people who don't like it, we need to design a good instruction manual so they understand how to use the product. That is a superficial problem because you have a manual, it's a band-aid on top of it, while the root cause is it's not intuitive enough. So really address the root cause and not the superficial problem. This is something we also observe a lot. And then the last one really is linked with user research. You have the client wishes that they express, but there's a difference between wishes and needs. Typically, I kind of find something out of the back of my head. If you go in a neighborhood and you ask people what they need, and a lot of people, yeah, we need a pedestrian path there, in a small neighborhood. Is the need, that is their wishes, they want a pedestrian path. You can answer to it, you can make it. But what is the need expressed there? The need is a need for more safety on the road. And you have different ways to address that. And if you have a core reflection on the need for safety on the road of that particular community, you end up with still a pedestrian path, but a complete different approach on how you came to that, and probably a lot different elements that you implement as well in the design for this community, but also maybe in design for future communities. So you have what the client says they wish, but always ask yourself, what is beneath that? If we solve that wish, are we just putting a band-aid, or are we addressing the root cause? So yeah, these are the four main traps in defining a problem that we see a lot of people falling into. And one way, one of the key ways to avoid that is really to be open-minded and question the obvious. And regularly throughout the project, question, hey, are we still addressing the right issue? Are we still solving the right problem? And sometimes, you just realize, you say yes, 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 yes. And then 2 months later, you worked a lot, you discovered also, no, But still, this is what we should address. It's slightly different. We already have a good base for it, and we can still keep building. But question the challenge, question the problem you address on a regular basis. And with this, pretty much every meeting we have with the client, we start with, okay, well, is there something new we learn, we discover? Are we still, is that product still relevant with what we know today? It's a question that is at time obvious. It's a question that is that can feel a little bit annoying sometimes, but we make a habit to ask ourselves, is this still the right product? Is this still working with all what we know? Sometimes this is also just a pretext question to discuss other elements. So yeah, even professionally, we do that. As silly as it may sound, ask ourselves, is it the right product? Is it still working every time at the beginning of a meeting? Now I have a question to you. Based on what I was presenting, what we're discussing here, what is for you the most important in defining the problem to address? And I stress the for you. What is your key takeaway from this? making sure the evaluation of the problem was correct, not missing out of anything, considering everything. Good luck with this. We're always discovering new elements, considering new element in any project over time. I think there's maybe another trap there is at some point you need to move on. You should spend enough time in that research phase, in the problem space, emphasizing with user, defining things, really sorting things out. But there is a risk of overdoing it as well. I think there you should be also flexible. Saying, okay, when do you have enough information to move on? But that also means being aware you don't have everything. And when you move on, validate. Okay, well, this is the part that I based on what I know, and this is the part of the project of the solution I based on my solution, and constantly validate them. And so this is why that context research is done not only at the beginning, but pretty much throughout the project by engaging with user and people. Experience from my life, from my friend Alanya. Life experience brings us lenses that are very specific, and we have lenses through our work, but we also have cultural lenses. I'll share an example of that. Don't limit your thought process. Living in detail, but not to drown in them. Yes, don't limit your thought process, considering all possibilities and analyzing ideas, understand and solve the problem so that it does not come back. Yeah, I think understanding the problem is key to address it, because if you don't understand the problem, whatever solution you come on is not addressing the problem, or is likely not to fully address it at least. Find the shortest and most understandable expression of the problem. Yes and no, but I think if you can manage to make your problem statement short, simple, and sexy, it's easier to get people on board. I see also in the chat that a couple of people arrived later. Please, you can enter your information in the survey there if you arrived a bit later. The link was just posted by Alexander's again. Yep. Yeah, fine. For the key takeaways here is really be flexible. Question the obvious. It will change over time. Understand what you're working that is based on really validated assumption, and that some of it is always going to be assumptions of how people will react to things, but validate them. Be critical towards yourself, towards what you're doing, but take criticism in that phase. If someone tells you being critical, if someone tells you, hey, we need more parking spaces in the center of Riga, being critical means, hey, do we really need more parking places, or do we need better mobility there, better access to it? And what does that mean? Take criticism. If someone tells you, yeah, your project of Riga Center to address mobility has way too many bicycle lanes, I feel unsafe as a pedestrian, take it and ask why, what is happening. I think also in defining the core issue, you should focus. And focus is sometimes saying, yeah, okay, I eliminate this, this is not important. Select where to focus your energy, what is worth focusing on. Would be great to address every single aspect of a complex situation, but there are some aspects where that would either be addressed over time by domino effects, or simply that take too much energy for no result or very, very little impact. So yeah, choosing where to spend your time and energy, because you have, this is a limited resource you have. And again and again, engage with others. Validate your assumptions there. Yeah. Do you have any questions, remarks, comments, objections there? Okay. I will share a story about when I'm talking about cultural lens. I mean, first of all, has any one of you been in a cultural exchange with an organization called AFS, American Field Service, or the people going in exchange there refer to it more as another fat student because a lot of people gain weight during their exchange. I lost 25 kilos. I was fat before. Came back rather slim, so it was nice for me. Okay, in this organization, I went myself in an exchange in Japan, but that's not part of that story. I've been providing preparation courses and training for students who would go to live abroad. And we have this exercise that we use in the training. So we all dress up with like toga, as a sort of a tribal society. And then you have the men sitting on chairs and wearing shoes. And then you have the women entering barefoot, sitting on their knees next to the men. And it's built, the whole exercise is built in a way, you have the impression because of our lenses and our cultural lenses that the woman is the slave of the man and she's completely submissive and so on. But the construct behind it, bear in mind this is an imaginary construct, is that in that society, the man is impure and is not allowed to touch the food by himself, is not allowed to touch the ground because it's sacred, etc. So it's really kind of pushing the male population back from all these things and having the actual power in the hand of the women. But again, the lenses we have, we understand things differently. So be open-minded. And this is why even, I think this also says, you can make a parallel with design thinking, where even when sometimes through our observation, we're pretty sure of something, they might turn out to be wrong later. So yeah, be flexible there. Any question, remark, comments, objection? If not, we'll have a short break. We have a break, a 15-minute break until 5:30, which should give you enough time to pet your dog, get a coffee, eat a little something, should you wish to, and we'll see each other then. Yeah, chocolate. I can always bring chocolate in negotiation with your colleagues and you finding a problem that can help you turn things your way. Hi, sorry, I had a need for one more minute. Phone call, urgent phone call that I could not postpone on a different project. Are you back here? If it's the case, please write in the chat yes or plus an emoji of a cat, preferably. Okay, excellent. Share screen. Good. So we'll continue our journey in design thinking with define. And what first exercise we will do today is, well, when you will do, will observe mostly. It's a simple matrix that will help you select what issues, what problem within the context you should tackle in priority. And this is a matrix we use with our clients in our project very, very easily. And we have two axes, impact, from low impact to high impact. Typically, if we're addressing trauma with kids, addressing which trauma will have the biggest impact, low effort or high effort. How much effort do we anticipate it will take to address the problem? And there we try to focus in general in the two upper corner, so top left or top right. The reason for that is because the impact is much bigger. And when we're working with clients and when they pay us, they are trying to work on a higher impact project, while what they learn, then they later apply it on a lower impact project, lower risk project as well, where you see the feeling. And there are two approaches we see. Either we go on major projects. Either we work there on major projects, and there we spend a lot of time, energy, effort. And a major project in terms of time frame working with us is anywhere between 6 months and 2.5 years. So these are how the big project you're working on in terms of time frame. It's wide and it's really project dependent. And then we have the quick wins. And the quick wins are a great project we start with clients or first-time clients, because it allows them to learn about design thinking methods, apply it, adopt the attitude, and really set a set of habits in place, which we can build on later to work on major projects. So most of clients we work with big projects, we have worked on quick wins with them first. And these quick wins are also very often used to say, hey, look, it works. We can apply, we can use it later. So the exercise for you today in Teams will be to identify issues to address and categorize them in this matrix in Miro. So I will put a link in the chat to the Miro board, so you can have you can go back to it. If it's not the case, I will start sharing my screen with Miro. There we go. And you had as a homework last time to fill. So you can zoom in and out. Maybe I'll use the buttons so you see. Here you can zoom in and out. So your exercise last time was to fill this, the team value. How does it work? Accountability and so. If it's not done, or if you're missing some elements, or there are elements you're not necessarily agreeing on, please take a couple of minutes at the beginning to discuss that. Then last time you did your user persona. So you have different persona. If I'm here, we have Mr. Airport Manager and Mr. Security Chief. So when you're working on your challenge, which is how an app could help airport employees, oops. So you go here, and in the template, it's really how an app could help airport employee, and you focus on these two personas you have here. How an app could help the airport manager, how an app could help airport security chief. On the right side, you have sticky notes, so you can take them and use them in the template there. Again, each team has a line, and we're going in the exercise as a line. So later on, we have two more exercises we will do tonight here. Your breakout room, you see you have a number at the beginning of your challenge, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will be your breakout rooms. So if you have questions, ask them now in the chat, and I'll answer them, or open your microphone and I will open the breakout rooms. So if you have questions, remain here. Okay, who is talking?
Can I ask again, where are the numbers for the breakout rooms?
The number, they're called room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4, room 5. You should now see them. So you select the room according to the challenge you're working on. I see room 2, people have joined, room 1 starting to join. If you have issues joining a breakout room, let me know, please.
Kindly join me to 5, room 5.
Room 5, okay.
I just can't see how I should join. Thank you.
Okay, you are assigned. Anyone else? What is fill-ins? Emmanuel, fill-ins are a project you do when you have time. So if you have some time in between projects or your workload is lower, these are projects you're taking on. Okay. Anyone else need assistance to join their rooms? Or if you don't have a team assigned, let me know. Okay, Margarita Veronica, do you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, Margarita. How are you doing?
Thank you. Very good. But I haven't got a group.
So you were not here in the first lecture?
Yes, I'm today the first time.
Ooh, okay. You're here today the first time. I'll assign you to team number 5.
Okay,
How
thank
might
you.
we get elderly people to play video games? Veronica, are you there? Okay, welcome back, everyone. So the next thing I want you to do now is, as a team, you discuss together and you choose one of these problems you have there to dig deeper in. Just choose one, and we'll use it in the problem tree. For this, I'll give you 5 minutes and I reopen the breakout rooms. If you have any questions, it's not clear, stay here and ask your question. Breakout rooms are now open. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So now I'll ask a team leader in each team to share what's the core issue, the core problematic that they want to dig deeper on. Emmanuel, you can open your microphone.
We think the main problem for us is security, so we should take care that the app is safe, that no leakage or hacking can happen to our database.
Okay, well, that's a technical issue, but in regard of the app and the user experience, what is the issue? Quick communication with employees. So there's no, it's hard to have quick communication with employees currently.
Well, yes, sometimes you need to send someone to say something to someone else or go to a specific area of the airport. It's not instantaneous.
Okay, do you think we could use that as the core issue?
Maybe.
Okay, let's use this as a tool as a pretext to dig deeper. Okay, team number 2. Yeah, I mean, make an interior design. What is the problem in a cafe for introvert people that you have identified that is important for you to work on? The team lead there is Jana.
Yes. I think that the main issue here is to make the cafe a good space for the introverted person. For example, finding the right location, making a suitable and comfortable interior design.
Okay. So you're telling me that cafe is not adapted for introverts.
Well, I wouldn't say that all cafes are like that, but for example, very popular ones that have like a lot of space, so there's going to be like a lot of people. But this, yeah, I don't know really how to explain it.
Okay, so very few cafes are adapted for introvert people.
Basically, that's our idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we can use that in a problem tree later. Good. Team 3. We have a team lead there. No, we don't have a team lead there. So who took the role?
We choose the instructions for the guidelines for illustrators because we think that it is important what we choose to put in the posters because we don't want to potentially damage the child's psychological state even more with like something really strange being in posters or something triggering.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. For this one, setting the problem tree is a bit more complicated there. I think the issue that the client is trying to address there with this poster is that it is not not possible to take all children. Too many demands for too few places. And this is in the context of Ukrainian crisis specifically. So here's another context element from the client there. There are too many children who need help and not enough place there. The question is, why do they need help? What is the core issue of needing help there? So you can explore this in that way. Then team number 4, we have no team. For team number 5, team lead there is researcher leader Krista. Are you there?
So our main issue is that there are no games adapted for elderly people.
Yeah. Okay. So there you have the problem tree where you will work with the point of no games adapted for elderly people. Okay. Now let's move on. So we used one first kind of problem selection tools or sorting tools, and sometimes we do things in parallel. So it's not necessarily linear. So first we put all the issues we're facing there, and then we dig deeper and we corroborate things together. The next exercise I'd like you to go through is a problem tree. So the problem tree, we define for each team what is in the center of it. Let me share Miro. Share screen and Miro. So here I'm in Miro, and here you have a problem tree. So we're with team 5. Why are no games adapted for old people? So maybe it's a bad vision. That could be one of the reason, or they don't hear about that. So I would like you to have a reflection, and what are the causes? So at the bottom, you add the causes for having no game. Bad vision, market is not big enough. And at the top, the effect. Because we have no games for old people, what is happening? Are there any special, any effects from that? So yeah, and this is made in a way that when you have you click on the element, you can edit it, but you can also add an element below with the plus and add several elements. You can also link them together with these small dots. So this can connect things when it makes sense to connect them. So each team, I will let you go there and work on the problem tree. So at the bottom is why. Your core statement is happening, and at the top is what are the effects there. Like very few cafes are adapted for introvert people. Effect number 1 is maybe not go to cafe simply, and so on. And because they don't go to cafe, consequence 1 is no money earned from introvert. Or another consequence is groups of friends going elsewhere, and so on. So I will give you for this exercise as a team approximately 20 minutes. I'll see how it goes. I may add a little more. Anyway, you have the timer there. If there's something not clear, you have question, feel free to remain in the main room, and I can answer them. Rethinking of cause and consequence, cause and effects. Okay, how was the exercise? How was it with your team? Can you share with us how it went for you? Team number 1.
I think it's not very easy to define the problem in our case, but we try to find some core situations around the main problem.
Thank you. Yeah, also for the other teams, what we agreed on with team number 1 and what they worked on, they changed. They changed the problem statement in the center throughout the exercise. It made sense to them. They changed it. It's good. That is the right attitude to have. Just keep in mind a problem statement when you do a problem tree, you try to identify a negative element. So it's not a need for quick access to information, but rather there is right now in this situation a lack of quick access to information, and what are the causes and consequences. Okay, thank you. Team number 2, how did it went?
It went very good. We brainstormed a lot. We had a little bit of trouble deciding what could the effect be, but in the end, we got a lot of ideas. So overall, it went very well.
Thank you. Team number 3.
I feel like our problem is quite still a wide spectrum of things. So there were a lot of things that we had to put down there, and I still feel like we haven't put a lot of things down that we should have. So it's still a work in progress.
Okay, thank you. And team number 5.
Yep.
No games for old people.
We had silence in our group chat, but we were all working, I think, and we probably need more time to this task to like fully do it.
Yeah, I mean, as I told you, as I showed you also before, the complex problem tree we had, that's over 8 hours of work on that, and then just summarizing everything there. So you can spend an awful lot of time on it if you really want to go deep. But I think also to go deeper, there's a key thing you need, a key element, and this is to engage with users, to really get to know them, get to understand their pain, get to understand their needs, their wishes. And this is where I will introduce the homework. For every person in every team, I'd like you to spend at least 15 minutes interviewing or engaging with an end user. So for the team number 1, as someone who works in an airport or a passenger, I guess. For team number 2, what was the challenge again? Design a cafe for introvert people. It would be nice for you to have both the point of view of the cafe, of what is important for them, and the point of view of introvert people or friends of introvert people who are not introvert, because this is also an interesting stakeholder maybe to look at. Team number 3, you have a sensitive topic. And I mean, keep in mind, as team number 1 did, they remove elements, they change the brief if it made sense. So if at some point there you think it doesn't make any sense to work with illustrations, change it. But anyways, for you, I think you need to engage with parents on how they identify issues with their children, or how they deal with them when they have big emotions and so on. So on one side, you have the health specialist, the health professional. On the other side, you have the parent. You may maybe also want to engage with teachers at school. It could be your own teachers or someone you know in the family. Voila. Or anyone else any other stakeholder that you feel is relevant to this. For the last team, no games adapted for old people. I think that it would be interesting to engage with old people, or future on one end and future old gamers as well, because the current old people, they did not grow up with video games, while the next generation will have grown up with video games. So define a bit whom do you believe it's good to talk with. Maybe it's video game developers, maybe it's some health specialists. And until next time, every single one of you will have talked for at least 15 minutes with one of the stakeholder. 15 minutes to half an hour. So prepare the interview, the key interest point you want to learn from them, engaging with them, and go talk with them. Remember the interview exercise here. Now, what I will do, I will give you 10 minutes in Teams to organize who is engaging with which key stakeholder and users, and then we'll come back in the main room. If you have questions, you may remain here and I'll answer to them.
Hello, I'm from team number 1, and we had a question. Can you hear me?
Okay, good.
So, okay. Hello, can you hear me?
I see that team one, you're back here. I'm experiencing terrible problems with my speaker and headphones at the moment. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I can hear you too. Yeah, some Bluetooth issue, but yeah. Okay, well, how can you engage with someone from the airport? Cool. You can send an email. One thing that really works is as well to just send an email to the help desk of the airport. Hey, we're students. We're having that project. We'd like to ask a question for 15 minutes to half an hour to these and these people. Is there any possibility to get us in touch with them? And generally they say yes. I'm not too worried about that. It's a matter of contacting the kind of contact email of the airport, and you can do it online with them, and you can contact different airports. I think it's interesting, maybe in your case, to contact on one hand a bigger airport and a smaller airport. I mean, by bigger, I mean maybe a Riga and Liepāja. Or if someone in your group is living elsewhere, maybe your local airport. Or maybe ask your family and friends if they know someone working in an airport. That could be another entry point. Does this help?
I guess we will write an email. Yeah, there is no different solution.
Yeah, and if not, you have forums. I mean, you can have points of interest when you prepare your interview, and you have forums where people working in airport meet. You know, an airport manager group or pilots. Pilot can also be an interesting group to ask, because they are airport users. When they enter, they go through security, they need their brief weather forecast and so on. And you have specialized forums for pilots online. Okay, not okay?
So I guess the interview should be focused like this. We should engage with them, asking them how do they think an app would help them to achieve better solutions for their specific positions, something like that.
Yeah, have a discussion with them about this. Have an open discussion, and keep in mind that what they may express as wishes, what they tell you the needs are, might not be the real needs. So just be critical on that. So take the information, but don't take it for granted.
Okay, thanks, cool.
Okay, good.
Emmanuel, as you said, you already have some kind of contacts in airport or some familiar airport workers. Maybe you could try to contact them or write them an email, and we could prepare the actual questions or something like this.
Okay, I don't know who was talking, but your mic was open. You were not in the breakout room anymore. I'm sure the person you were addressing that to understood. Just, yeah, contact email from airport is something that would work. The other teams, welcome back. I have a question to you. Did you manage to agree together on a plan of action?
Yes.
Did any team had issues or something not clear and they need my help for that? Okay, it doesn't seem so. No, you don't have to record interview. I mean, I will anyway not have time to watch it or do anything. If it makes sense for your team in a way of sharing, depending on what you're doing, why not? But it's up to you how you record it. I would strongly suggest you really to prepare a kind of an interview plan with the elements you want to know about, the point of interest, and just taking notes in these boxes during the interview. If you feel more comfortable having coffee with someone and so, up to you. Yeah, 15 minutes to half an hour. You don't have to go very deep. Keep in mind, this is a course. We're learning about the tools. There's no expectation of you really addressing the challenge. You're for sure going to gain a lot of knowledge around it, context knowledge, learning the tools. But yeah. Okay. I had another thing I wanted to do with you today, but based on what happened before, we'll keep the third exercise that I had planned for next time. So we'll do it at the end of next session, meaning we'll likely end up a little bit earlier than planned, but we might take 5 more minutes next time. Last but not least, here's a closing question today. So as we do at the beginning, we do the same at the end. Can you share with us one thing you learned today? For this, it's happening on a Mentimeter, so you can go on Mentimeter and answer the question. Yeah, I think also, when we're in the design thinking process, the fence or the border between empathy, context research, and define is not always very clear. At times, it's blurry, and I think it's not necessarily about trying to say where it is, but about embracing this and asking yourself, say, what should I do? What is the next step? What tool can I use for that? Yeah, a small comment also about the impact effort matrix. What you can do a matrix with two axes, any axis you want, kind of in sorting problem, in sorting issues. And we had cases where we had 5 different degrees in them, using colors, using numbers, and so on. But that is extreme, and I highly advertise against doing that unless you're in a very specific situation. Better kind of use 2 or 3 different metrics. How to use a problem tree, define categorized challenges. Okay. Do you have any remarks, comments, questions, objections? You can write them also in the chat if there's something you also wish me to talk about. You feel maybe was not addressed or you want more precision on. In your interview, very important, keep in mind that what is expressed as needs, as wishes, might not be the core needs. So be critical on that. Take it with a pinch of salt, and really your role is to gather them and reflect on them. What you learn from the interview,
add it to the problem tree, add it to the matrix individually, and we'll find time to share that with your team next time. If you can share it already, it's fantastic. But I also understand you probably have a lot of things to do when exams are coming. Okay, thank you. I think the word of the end is, whatever you do, engage with others. And your homework this time is indeed engaging with others. On that, I wish you a fantastic evening and see you next week.
Have a nice evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.